This is Andrew Smiley, Executive Director of Tree Folks. I'm proud to say that this video is brought to you by the Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority, delivering innovative multimodal transportation solutions by engaging the communities we serve and protecting the environment we all share. To learn more, please visit mobilityauthority.com.
Well, great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for participating and being here. I loved looking in the Google Drive folder this morning. I was definitely moved by the variety and the range. And yeah, a week is not a very long time. So I know I'm running this workshop, but I was still doing the exercises because I like makes me more empathetic, I think. And I was cranking my piece out this morning at 8. So anyway, we're going to get started and just invite you to share. I think the process will work similar to last week. Like if you want to share, you do the thumbs up and then you'll unmute yourself. As far as screen sharing, I've downloaded the stuff or I have easy access to it. So I think you would just tell me your name or the name of your folder and I'll bring it up and share my screen. And you can talk about your just experience with the tree, the final product, if you made a final product, or just any thoughts in general. It's pretty open-ended. It's sort of just general storytelling at this point. It doesn't have to be present your project. It could just be like reflect on your week. So that being said, oh, and I guess try and limit, if you do participate, think maybe 5 minutes or less. We'll try and get through, we're not going to get through everyone. I don't know if everyone wants to participate, but is there anyone that wants to start off with talking about their tree or their experience? Suzanne, you can unmute yourself and then I'll bring up your piece.
Okay.
Let's see. Slow. Whoa. Sorry. There it is.
I get to be the practice person.
Yeah. So, okay. So you have an overview and then you have 2 detail sheets. Just let me know where I should scroll if you need me to scroll.
I would say the first sheet, the very first one that has the most pictures, not that one. There's, the one that says visit the Madison Avenue fig tree. I'll keep it really short. I at first was like, can I draw something? And I realized that I could not. I didn't feel like I could capture anything that I wanted to capture by drawing it. And I found myself just out there every day taking a lot of pictures from different angles. This tree is not that tall and it has a lot of really low branches. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of falling in love with this tree that's been in my yard for a really long time. And because it's a fig tree, I've often focused most on like, are there figs? And, like looking for the figs out there usually. And so this year, this was a really great experience too. I'd also like admired the lines of some of the branches before, but I realized that I didn't have any idea if there was like an underground trunk and these were all branches coming out. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, I did have to look it up, and it turns out there's, multiple trunks. And then I was just wondering, well, when does a trunk become a branch? And so anyway, it was a really Beautiful time taking lots of close-up pictures of baby figs and baby leaves and shapely branches. And I didn't really see that much life on the tree, even at night. But again, once the figs ripen, there's like a million birds and squirrels, as I know from previous experience. So that's all. I just tried to figure out a way to set up some photos that it could try to describe what the tree would be like.
How did you format, or what program did you format this in? Just curious.
It's called Easily, Easely, and I had used it before a long time ago just for one thing, and it's so I was able to put like I don't know if you can see in the background, there is a picture of the tree in the back. That's the backdrop. And actually, if you could go to page 2 for 1 second, where the leaf is.
I like the 2012-2020.
Oh yeah. So I had a young tree picture to when it grew up on the second page. But so the big fig leaf in the middle is actually one leaf that I did take from the tree and photographed, and then I just decided to use that as sort of like a faded out, transparent background. And so I was just basically dragging and dropping, what I could see as indicative pictures. And there were just so many. I had to dig through my old stuff to find, like, is there a picture of the tree from when it was little? And so that was kind of fun too.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? Chaitanya, do you want to unmute yourself and I'll pull up your video?
Thank you. There are two, if you want to show the first.
Oh yeah, there's the medium one and then the Lacum Seti. Which one?
The medium one, please.
Let me share screen. Oh. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, here goes. Oh. Do you want to see the other one as well, or talk about this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to take up too much time. If we have time later, I could show the other one. This is one of my favorite trees in the house, and always sit under the tree. I have an actual sit spot under this tree. So I gravitated towards this tree, and I wanted to use the flashlight at night. I've never like observed the tree at night, so I wanted to take a flashlight, but I didn't have proper flashlight in the house. But lucky for me, it was raining. I think Wednesday or Thursday morning. So the thunderstorm woke me up, and immediately I went to the tree and took my phone and capturing that video of the lightning I started in the beginning. And that kind of wanted me to think about the atmosphere around the tree throughout the day. So I kind of went back, throughout the day, and sat next to the tree, and spent more time around the tree and took videos. I was initially thinking more in terms of a painting, because that's the medium I gravitate towards, but this was the first time I did a video, and I liked exploring. The only thing is that this tree is quite big, and so my sit spot is on the deck, and the tree is a few feet away from the deck. So it was harder to have a little closer observation of the tree. So the second video was me trying to get under the deck, which is not the most conducive area to walk around, to take close-up pictures of the bark and the leaves and stuff. But it was fun. It was really fun. I really enjoyed doing it, and I feel like although I have an intimate connection with this tree, just sitting with it throughout the day was a different experience. I love this different sounds at different time of the day. Even the sounds around the tree are different. So that was what I was. Actually, I cheated a little bit. The sunset was on the same day. I was kind of trying to tell a story, so I inserted the sunset video from the day before. So, but otherwise, all other videos are from the same day.
That's cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Chelsea. It's almost like I need the hand to come out of the screen. Let me.
I can talk a little bit about it as you bring it up, because
great.
This definitely isn't a final product. I spent like the first 6 days. I can see my tree from the window that I work at my desk. So I've been looking at the tree from afar, coming out and getting closer. And I realized I kept trying to take in the whole tree kind of at once. And it wasn't until yesterday I went out with my camera. So I do a lot of photography, and using the camera as a tool to like take in small portions was really what I needed. I realized. So I used a tool to help me understand the tree, because I was able to focus, when you're looking through the camera, you only see the small frame. When you have the camera up to your face, you only see smaller parts at a time. And so that really helped me kind of hone in more on the leaves. This is a magnolia tree, if you couldn't tell. And kind of like what someone was saying about the figs, I only ever really looked for when there were blooms. I'd always kind of like, ooh, is my magnolia tree blooming yet? No, okay, go back inside. I'm always like checking to see where the blooms are. But yesterday I spent a lot of time looking at the different leaves on the tree. In this first photo, this was around like noon or 1. So the light shining through the leaves is just amazing. It's kind of, I'm actually looking at the tree right now too. And it's kind of doing this same thing where the sun shines through and then you can see the speckledness on the leaves. But then if you scroll down and you see the leaves at night, they're not translucent at all at night. So it's like kind of the relationship between the tree and the sun really kind of stuck with me. And of course, like you have to take a picture of a magnolia bloom if there's a magnolia bloom because they're just gorgeous. And they smell so good too. So you can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, there's the bloom in the day and the bloom at night. And then a little bit of comparison of the leaves day and night. So those are the same leaves, but in the day you can see through them and at night you can't at all.
So it's brown on the bottom and green on top?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the leaves that are surrounding the blossoms they're like younger leaves, I think. Yes. And so the leaves that are surrounding the blossom are younger and they're like really thin and like way more green than the older leaves. So these speckledy leaves are kind of the older ones. They're all over my yard too because they fall off a lot. So I picked up some of those on the ground so I could actually feel the difference between the older dead leaves and then the younger fresh thin leaves. I really liked how those photos at night came out and I just took those last night. The other thing I've been doing, and this will be my last thing, so I've been reading this book that just kind of happened to align with this project. I started it last weekend without even thinking, but the book is called How to Do Nothing. And I don't know if you've heard about it.
Oh yes, I was going to recommend it at the end of this workshop.
Oh really? That's so weird because I just picked it up. Anyways,
Yeah.
I wanted to read a quote from it.
Yeah, perfect.
Like let sit with me while I sat with the tree. Because I read a lot in this chair that I'm sitting in right now and I can see the tree from here. So I would be reading my book about how to do nothing, which really is just about how to focus your attention on things, which I'll let Ann tell you more. So it's really good companion piece that I did not mean to do. But the quote is, snaking through the midst of the banal everyday is a deep weirdness. A world of flowerings, decompositions, and seepages, of a million crawling things, of spores and lacy fungal filaments, of minerals reacting and things being eaten away, all just on the other side of the chain link fence.
Yeah.
So I just, she has a billion good quotes, but that one is on page, I don't know how to look at 125 on the ebook. If that means anything to anyone.
Yeah.
But so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Preaching to the choir. Ooh, thank you. Anyone else? Melanie and Amy, which one of you? Amy? Okay. Let's see.
Hey, so I'll just kind of, as you're pulling it up, there's a YouTube link, but there's also embedded in, it's a video, it's 2 minutes. And I just did some kind of mixed media sound.
Yeah.
Sort of one thing I wanted to really include in it. So I felt like some still photos mixed with a little video and sound was the way I sort of interacted with the chinkapin oak in the backyard. So
Should I start it or?
Yeah, go for it.
I forget if there's narration up there. Do you want to say, I mean, it stands alone, but do you want to say anything about it?
It's just a little 2-minute story. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a little the storytelling of my week with the tree, and of course the lifetime of it. And then the question I see about squirrel girdling.
Mm-hmm.
Fish asks, how do squirrels girdle the top? And you know, if they happen to chaw on their little teeth as they're kind of like whittling their rodent teeth down, and if they make a full circle around the bark, it can actually limit, you know, the flow of, you know, phloem and xylem down through the tree, or xylem up, phloem down. And that will disconnect the water and mineral sources. And we saw it within maybe 3-4 weeks, just the whole top half just turned brown. I mean,
Wow.
it was like green right below, brown on top. And we brought our arborist friend out, and he ended up just, he was like, well, we'll just kind of remove it and see what happens. And we agreed with, yeah, let's just see what happens instead of removing the whole thing. It was, you know, probably 9 years old at that point.
Wow. What did the squirrel get out of girdling the tree? Like, what motivated the squirrel to do that?
Little jerks. They're just always chewing on stuff with their little teeth. I think it happened in the springtime, so it was probably young ones. And
There's a lot of sugar in the sap, and they often go after that. They really girdle my maples really bad.
Man, I had no idea squirrels were aggressive in that way.
Yeah, and it's the young trees, you know, youngish trees that will really suffer more than the older ones.
Thinner bark.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just to say though that like when the squirrels girdled it, it was literally just the bottom row of branches that were left, and all of those have like started to come up. It's been really interesting.
Oh, fill in. It still wants to be the form it wants to be.
Just the last question. So the little piece hanging on the tree, it's a little hammered copper metal. Is that right? My friend Stephanie did. It has my dad's name on it. And so it's just kind of chain hung. And so it says Paul Michael Moreland, and it just stays on the tree. And it's hammered into the shape of a chinkapin oak leaf. So.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Maybe one or two more people if anyone wants to share their work. Matthew, is your piece do you have something in Google Drive?
Yeah, it's in the Google Drive. Has my full name.
Okay. Google Drive. I don't see it, but.
Oh, did you? I just added it too late.
Let me refresh it. Oh, there it is.
There it is, yeah.
Ooh.
So we have a really gnarly post oak in our backyard. And first of all, I named it, I wanted to find an indigenous name for it. So I was looking through a Tonkawa dictionary, or kind of like a grammar guide. And so Shobak Najgosh means I swell up and die. And I thought it was kind of appropriate for this really gnarly oak because I don't know whether she just looks like this or whether she's kind of at the end of her life cycle. She had an enormous chicken of the woods grow on her trunk.
Oh my God.
Last year, it was so big. Everybody on iNaturalist was very, very jealous.
Did you eat it?
I didn't eat it. I left it to the animals. And just admired it, but it eventually got fungus on the fungus, which I guess is a thing, multi-layers of fungus. So I don't know how old she is, and she's also starting, her big branches are starting to kind of rot out, and she's being colonized by starlings. You can see at the top of the picture, there's like 2 blue dots. I marked in blue where there's been really big starling nests, and the lower one is like the platonic ideal of a hole in a tree. there's constantly woodpeckers fighting over it, and the starlings always win. They're just the most aggressive.
Huh.
But anyways, I was reading about genealogy this week, and I was wondering about how you would map a tree, or just try to take in the geography of this tree, because she is so gnarly. It's really hard to even kind of comprehend which directions each of the trunks are going, which are kind of like secondary and tertiary trunks. And so I thought all week about the best way to try to code it. And I was trying to think about if there was like you could use some sort of like taxonomy system or a family tree to be able to do that. And I'm sure there are better systems for doing that. But she was really resistant to being mapped. And I think that how ugly this picture came out is like a really good testament to how strong-willed she is. That she was just like not having it. So I like the colors get lighter from a dark maroon up to like light pink at her top branches. And there's another picture in there of what she actually looks like. She's so gorgeous. But yeah. But when you look at it, it's really hard to tell which things are going in which direction. And so I was just trying the best way to just try to get some concept of who's there, even if nothing else, for when me and my wife constantly have a fight over pointing out birds. I always say that you can just kind of like, if it's close enough, you can just point at the bird. And she says that's completely unfair and that you need to, it's up on the second branch. If you fork to the left and then you go up here, there's kind of a mossy spot. That's kind of the words we're supposed to say. So I was trying to come up with a map so that for birding in the future, I could say, oh, it's on one of the light purple branches on the right. But I don't think that I succeeded, which is totally fine.
Yeah, trees are complex.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I like the comparison of the diagram versus the real, and even just marking those two little blue dots, I felt like helped orient oneself to, at least I felt like I could see them in the photograph as well to see, oh, that's where I am. But yeah, trees are very convoluted, especially oaks.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Lydia, did you upload something or do you just want to talk? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
I uploaded a few pictures late, so should be above.
Let's see. Here you go. Is there a way to open them all, or do I just need to? Sometimes I am also a Luddite with things.
I made an ink out of the branches that fell around the tree. But as I was collecting, and I added some leaves and stuff too, but as I was collecting, I think I was cross-collecting from the other tree that's overhanging this tree. So it's kind of a big old mix of all the materials that fell. This is a tree that sits outside of my living room window that I'm just watching all day. Even as I'm outside, I'm under it kind of, and it's just, I'm just fascinated by it constantly. And I'd previously done a project where I laid fabric over the trunk and I kind of traced the bark a little bit, and then I stitched the lines just to see kind of what that looked like as like an abstract piece. So I was really excited to kind of take another thing from the tree without actually taking from it. So that's a piece of the bark, and then if you just kind of go through, you can see other pictures of the tree just looking cute from different angles. I don't know what kind of tree it is. I try to look
I know what it is. Is it a Chinese tallow, Colin?
Nice. Okay, good. I'm glad. I want to look that up later. But yeah, it has like red at the tips of the leaves, and it's super pretty.
In the fall, they're amazing. They're invasive species, but the color gradient on those leaves is spectacular.
Yeah, it's super pretty. So those are just like different. And then that's me boiling the pieces down. Boiled for like an hour. And it smelled really, really good. Like it smelled like when it rains, but then just like on steroids. So it smelled like that / like a tea. It was really nice.
Wow.
So I got those boiling. And then I'm not sure what other pictures are next. That's after I strained it out. So just kind of like, not all of it didn't break down that bad. That was just like the sediment that strained out. Excuse my pale legs. And then that's what it looked like in the jar after it was strained. Still hot.
Ooh.
And that's it on the paper by itself. And then I added some soda ash into it because I can't help myself. And so that kind of deepened the color a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't as saturated, but that's fine. It was still really nice kind of yellow that came from it. I think, oh yeah, that's the setup. Which isn't very cute, but it's just how I work outside.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Awesome. Yeah, Lydia does amazing stuff with natural pigments. Besides what she just showed us.
Thank you.
A lot of practice. Well, we're getting towards wrapping things up. Any one last person want to share?
Raised her hand.
What? Who?
Ish raised her hand.
Oh, Ish. Okay, let me share my screen and you can unmute yourself. There you go. Love the name. Do you just direct me to scroll or?
Oh yeah, I can't see myself right now, so I have no idea what you guys see, but I really enjoyed kind of exploring the tree in small little increments, and I loved how you guys kind of got us to look at the canopy first, and then look at the undergrowth, and then look at it at night, look at the creatures, and I really fell in love with my tree in a way that I hadn't before. And I don't know, I'm a writer, so I just thought that I would write a big poem about it, but then I realized that I didn't have the time, or I could have, I think I probably need more time to write a bigger poem, but I thought haikus are perfect because they're kind of little snapshots of particular moments. And so I kind of just wrote a haiku, and I guess you can kind of scroll through them, little haikus for each little moment. So this was like looking up, and I just love the way that my leaves like kind of framed the way that the sky looked when you look up, and they're all little silhouettes. And then I love the fact that I'd never really checked out the ground before, and there's all these little gifts from different people. So there's like glass from some other history of this yard, some ceramic dish, and probably a cat brought in a feather from a poor bird, and just all the rocks that kind of collected in the mulch. And then the texture of this tree is just amazing to me. It's very, it is covered with lichen on one side, and I looked up and it said that kind of means the tree might be dying, and I have talked to somebody about it before, and it might be ill, but I just also really love the way the lichen looks, and gives it this particular patina and flavor. And then I love ball moss, and again, it's just one of those things that I love, that it can just eat air and survive. I wish I could do that. And I thought, how cool is it that my tree has this beautiful piece of ball moss hanging on it. And let's see what else. There's another couple. Oh yeah, after that storm, because my pecan tree might be ill, a lot of branches were falling around it, and I noticed that there were a couple of branches that were just precariously hanging on for life there, and like when the wind comes in, they just kind of sway, but they don't fall. And so I really enjoyed the balancing act that was going on with the fallen branches, and the way that the golden hour makes all the light makes it so different each time you look at it, and I love that about that. And then of course there's a squirrel. I have a baby squirrel in the tree, and his mom her mom and the squirrel were there before, and then yesterday just the baby squirrel. So I'm not sure exactly, but it really checked me out for about 30 minutes just with this little side eye, and I was like, oh, I hope you're okay, little baby squirrel. It like scampered up into the branches, so I have no idea if it found its nest or if it's okay, but very curious little thing.
He does look like a baby.
Yeah.
A little.
He's little. And then it's not the best picture, but I'm not a great birder in terms of photography, but I do have a whole bunch of cardinals and mourning doves that come visit this tree, and a woodpecker. And my mom passed away when I was younger, and my brother and I have always said that when cardinals come, they're her visiting us. And so it's really beautiful that a cardinal comes to visit me every day on this tree. And so I just think of it as my mom in the tree. So that's what that is.
Awesome.
Thanks for letting me do this project. It was so beautiful to do.
Well, so we're gonna start to wrap it up, but the work that we didn't talk about is in the Google Drive, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Some of it definitely demands your full attention, so maybe it's definitely spend some time with it. I wanted to recommend, well, thank you again for participating. I enjoyed this so much. I really feel transported by all your experiences. I think if you have any feedback, feel free to email Colin and I. We're always working on, I mean, this format is very much about, you know, shelter in place. What can we do? But we think this will live on in other ways. So feedback would be great if you have it.
And this was the first time we've ever done a workshop like this. So anything you have to say about it would be very helpful. So if y'all have any ideas or questions or comments, just email them to me. It'd be awesome.
And I look forward to trying to do some Zoom workshops again, because I love the idea of like co-locating with people in other states and things, and there's some potential there. And so some book recommendations based on the topic we're sort of exploring, and we'll put links to these in a follow-up email as well. Richard Preston's Wild Trees. It's a nonfiction. If you read the Overstory by Richard Powers, this was one of his resources. It's kind of written like fiction, but it's all about exploring the canopies of redwood trees, which are worlds in and of themselves. I definitely was transported by this book, and I can't wait to go back to the West Coast and visit some more redwoods. Even if I'm not climbing them, I don't know, I felt really captivated by this book. How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell. I've been a fan of Jenny for a while as an artist. She gave this talk a few years ago called How to Do Nothing that I'll put a link to in the email, and that talk led to this book. And her method of just being present and observing is very inspirational. I mean, it talks about resisting the attention economy, which kind of turns me off. But once you get into the book, you just go on these like trips with her in the rose garden and through the town she grew up in, and sort of seeing it with fresh eyes as an adult. Like, I don't know, highly recommended. And Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's sort of about blending. Robin Wall Kimmerer is sort of indigenous descent, but she's also a scientist. So her whole challenge in life is sort of blending the two ways of knowing that are often very opposed, which is scientific data-driven knowledge and then sort of indigenous wisdom that has been handed down through generations. And she's a beautiful writer. I posted a link in the group Facebook page, which I'll post another link in the email, to the Emergence magazine that Carmen sort of posted about how to befriend a tree, which was really amazing. And then I dug deeper, and they had a whole issue on trees. And the one article that jumped out at me was 11 ways of smelling a tree, which really caught my eye. And I listened to the podcast of that yesterday, and I highly recommend it. Like, he just takes you to sort of the bigger picture of trees in the world and our senses and our memories. So if you check out anything in there, I'd recommend checking out that. If you don't have a copy of the Odditree guide, send me your address and I'll mail you one. I think that covers it. Am I forgetting anything, Colin? I hope you can continue to build your relationship with this tree or trees in general. a week is a really short time to like have the full range of experiences, but I feel like we covered some great territory.
If y'all want to explore your trees artistically through other workshops, we should have a few available on YouTube. They're all called Artistry workshops. There's one done by Linda Anderson, who's a local Austin artist, that walks you through how to sketch a tree. So that one's really fun. And we're going to have one coming out soon by Sasha Claravasian on how to write songs about trees.
I do feel like I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of what that is. So
there will be a follow-up email that I'm going to send out probably on Tuesday. It's going to have a survey about the workshop and information on like how to explore your trees more and Tree Folks offerings. And if anyone wants your work shared online, I'm perfectly happy to do that through the Tree Folks website. I mean, the Facebook page, and probably the website too. Just let me know, and I can get those posted.
Well, thank you, everyone. I haven't been watching the chat if I missed a question.
Let's just make sure I haven't missed any questions here in the chat. There's a book about wild trees that was referenced. What was that?
That was the Richard Preston, and yeah, we'll put this in the email. But
You said a book referenced that one. Which one?
Oh, Richard Powers' Overstory. It's like a really best-selling fiction book about trees, which I would recommend too. I just feel like that book has been recommended so much. Maybe I don't need to recommend it, but it really takes you on a journey. You know, the trees are characters in the book, more or less, and it's based on all these true events. Like when I dug more into the history and his process for researching the book, I realized, well, it's fiction, but it's based on all these things that actually happened, which makes it even more engaging, and then makes you think about direct action and like, how am I participating in protecting our environment? And I feel made me feel a little bit passive, but it made me think. So I recommend that one too. Well, I hope to see you all in person at some point. And I hope your shelter in place is going well, and I hope everyone stays well. And thank you so much for participating and showing up and contributing.
Let me encourage everyone to sign up for the Tree Folks newsletter, and Odditree has a newsletter too, right?
Yes, it's very spotty.
We will announce our events when they start happening again in person, and then we can all meet. So
yeah. If you see me on the street and want to talk about trees, like, I'm available.
Yeah.
Me too.
Or via email, yeah. Well, thank you again, and take care.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a great weekend, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.
Bye, Ann.